White and the Seven Dwarfs, filmed in 1937 and released in Canada in 1938. This is the first Princess Disney movie. At first, watching back on Snow White, I realized that it was a lot more problematic than I remember it being, but it brought back a lot of nostalgic joy that I had for the film and for all the songs and the music in this movie. This is like the traditional want for Disney princesses to find her true love and for the true love to whisk her away and the male savior and stuff. I think these kinds of movies, and Snow White particularly, was a movie that made me grow up thinking like, I need a boyfriend to have a happy ending. So that in itself is problematic, and that lesson that it teaches kids is problematic. But like, I'm gonna say it just brings me so much joy. Also, growing up, I loved witches and like magic witch things. So the evil queen and her like transformation to like the ugly hag witch lady, I just lived for it. I wanted to be the evil queen. So yeah, like a classic, problematic, but a classic. So these are my questions as a 19-year-old watching back these movies that I loved in my childhood. For Snow White, how old is the prince? Because it does say that in the movie, Snow White is supposed to be 14. And in the original Grimm's fairy tale, I believe he's in his 40s or like late 30s. So I don't know how old they made the prince in this Disney version. I'd also really like to know how the queen became that way. Like, how did she become so vain and so obsessed? How did that become the one thing she cared about as a person? What's the queen's story? Also, where did she get the mirror from? Like, the mirror is so interesting to me. I feel like the mirror itself could have its own, like, movie, origin story, that kind of thing. The evil queen and the mirror do not get enough credit. That's on period. The song I chose for this movie is the classic Someday My Prince Will Come. So I hope you enjoy.
Is someone I'm longing to see, someone I simply can't help but adore, someone who loved me forever. Someday my prince will come, someday I'll find my love and thrilling that moment will be, when the prince of my dreams comes to me. Someday when spring is here, we'll find our love anew, and the birds will sing, wedding bells